It has been about 90 days since I've moved to Vietnam, and it's been a hell of a ride so far. It's been a bunch of positives on my life. I feel like I've grown a lot as a person, but there's also been some negatives. There's also been a bunch of learning curves as well. I've had a lot of you guys actually reach out when I first moved over to Vietnam, saying that they wished me the best of luck because they wished that they did something like that when they were a lot younger. Also, a bunch of you guys have reached out asking me tips on how I moved here and how they can do the same because they want to do the same as well. It's something special, especially if you're Vietnamese coming back to the motherland. But I'll save all that for the video now. We're gonna kick off with the cons, okay? Because there's way more positives than there are cons. So I've been traveling about full time and I've been trying to make social media and YouTube a living. As I've been full-time traveling, going from city to city to country, I never really noticed this. And for the last 6 months before I moved to Vietnam, I was living in Australia. And then moving to Vietnam and actually staying here in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, I've really started to notice the air pollution, the air quality. See, Vietnam has some of the worst, if not the worst air pollution in the entire world. Just little things like when I'm riding my bike, I've got to make sure that I have a mask on. I've got to have my sunnies on all the time because the pollution and then also the dirt and the dust coming from the exhaust of motorbikes and trucks, this goes all over your body, all over your face, into my eyes. I'm always making sure I'm trying to clean my face. I'm sort of acne prone as well. I always have been throughout my entire life, unfortunately. So the dirt does not help. The pollution does not help. Speaking of the pollution, the exhaust of motorbikes, the dirt, the dust, comes onto cleanliness. I remember when I was a wee little child, coming to Vietnam with my parents, early 2000s, even like the 2010s. The place was an absolute mess in terms of infrastructure, the cleanliness of the place. People throwing garbage left, right, and center. There was this filthy sewage smell. I'm sure a lot of you guys, if you've been, you can sort of still smell it and still linger it in the back of your mind, still lingers in the back of your mind. Thankfully, it's so much cleaner these days, but it still has its challenges. People still just throw stuff on the ground, cigarette butts, bottles, plastic. You really do have to watch where you walk. There's garbage sometimes just left in and around, so that's not ideal as well, especially coming from a beautiful place like Australia, especially Melbourne, where the quality of living, the standard is just amazing there, and there's not much dirt around. Majority, at least where I lived in the suburbs, it is a hell of a lot better now. But that's something that if you're thinking about moving and that quality of life, that cleanliness, that pollution might not be ideal for you, but it's still manageable. It's getting better, I feel like, every single year. Next is safety hazards. I will say that it's gone a hell of a lot better this year, especially in terms of motorbikes. You see, last year, I remember the traffic being absolutely chaotic. You could barely walk down sidewalks, especially during peak traffic hours. People would just drive through the sidewalks and there's no real room for you to walk. They would be dodging you. You'd have to be switched on 24/7 just to make sure you don't bump into another person, bump into a motorbike. And speaking of that, the sidewalks in Saigon, in Ho Chi Minh City at least, they're not built to walk, you know? It's a growing city and they've got a lot to do in terms of to fix that. You'll see like trees planted everywhere in the city, which is great, but then the roots, they will grow as the trees get older, you know? And that just breaks and makes the path, the walkways uneven. Sometimes I'll see random holes, random puddles. I really have to be switched on and be careful of where I'm walking all the time. But like I mentioned with the bikes driving on the sidewalks, this year, I believe a new president was elected, and that president, I believe as well, was the former head of police or something in that sort of realm. And he's laid the law down in terms of riding on the sidewalks, a lot more fines, a lot more hefty fines, people actually getting pulled over. So that has calmed down a hell of a lot, which is amazing, especially if you're a tourist, or if you're coming to live here and you like to walk. That safety hazard is a big one, especially if you've got kids and whatnot. So thankfully that's been a lot better. But yeah, safety hazards, you could fall, trip, and it's funny because I talk to my friends about this. Like a lot of my friends are Vikios as well. They're from the West. If you walk in the West and you fall down and you trip over a hazard, you fall into a random hole, like you got to sue. You know, you're trying to get that bag. But over here, I don't think they could care less. You know, so you really have to be careful and watch out for safety hazards. Another big one is noise and chaos. Ho Chi Minh City is a hustle and bustle city. If you want to come and live in this country, or sorry, this city, and you want to retire and relax, you want a peaceful life, I don't think Ho Chi Minh City is the place. Unless you want to go somewhere like a District 7 where there's brand new infrastructure, the roads are a lot wider, or maybe Tao Ding, pretty much expat central. You might have a little bit more of a calm life there, but everywhere else, there's going to be a hell of a lot of noise pollution, the chaos of the bikes, random dogs barking. If you're unlucky like I was in the first 2 months, you get chickens across your road. You could have uncles singing karaoke's morning till night, things of that nature. It's really a city where your mind is always running. You're living in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, noise pollution can drive you a little bit crazy. And it definitely did for the first 2 months when I was at my Airbnb in Tao Ding. This new location, this new apartment that I'm in, no noise pollution, so I'm very, very thankful. On the chaos as well, personal space. Personal space does not really exist here in, I think, Vietnam in general. I'm trying to understand the reasoning why and justify it. And I think because the houses here, everything, the roads here, the streets here, they're a lot closer, they're a lot more condensed. So people have to deal with being in tight-knit space with other people. And that just comes naturally to the locals, I assume. Whereas once again, out in the West, if people are up in your personal space, it's weird. You know, you sort of want to tell, hey, can you back up a little bit? But here in Vietnam, there's no issues just being right up your butt, right up your ass. Like literally standing toe to toe, breathing on your neck. That's something that I've had to try and get used to. The time of recording, this is April, and April is the hottest month from what I have gathered in all of Vietnam, especially the south, okay? The heat is blazing. I'm talking 37 degrees pretty much every single day. We are slowly transitioning into like monsoon, rainy season. So the temperature, sometimes if it rains, it drops completely, but during the day, you could cook an egg outside. That's how hot it is out here right now. Sweating as soon as I walk out. I've got to take 3 or 4 showers a day sometimes. I know for the locals, they might just take 1 shower and it's normal to them, okay? But yeah, coming from Melbourne, where 8 months out of the year, it is like cold. I'm talking some mornings are 0 degrees. You can get up to like 10 degrees Celsius at most. It's still an adjustment, but I think I still do prefer the heat, the warmth over that. Because you know, when you get so cold, the chills get to your bones, your spine, it's like you're cold to your core. Whereas I do prefer the heat. It's still a con though. I mean, like having the inconvenience of wanting to take multiple showers a day, going out, just catching up with friends during the day, it almost feels like a chore sometimes because you know you're going to get sticky, you know you're going to be sweating, you know your clothes are going to be stinking. So the heat, at least in April, this month right now and the months surrounding it, it's a little bit unbearable, but I think I'm slowly adjusting to it. Another one is the language barrier. Now in the city, you can definitely get around using English, especially if you're in certain neighborhoods like District 2, Tao Ding, where predominantly it's all like Western businesses, everyone speaks English. But if you're in more of a local district like a District 8, even here, District 3 a little bit, where I'm staying currently, it's primarily going to be Vietnamese. And as I'm trying to move here and live here like a local, I guess you'd say, I do try and use Vietnamese because most of my interactions are with locals. They are with Vietnamese. If I'm buying things online, like through Grab, through Shopee, Lazada, like online purchasing platforms, if I'm renting things, like when I went to rent this apartment, if I'm renting my motorbike, a lot of the places are just going to be limited to Vietnamese. My Vietnamese, I think it's good. It's definitely improved so much since I've been here and I have to use it consistently. But in Vietnamese, we have this saying where it's a little bit cứng, which is like my Vietnamese, people know I'm not from here. Like it's a little bit slow and it's not as fluent as the locals. So they sort of know I'm not from here. When I went to rent this apartment, it would have been so much harder if I didn't have a friend who was a local and she helped me out. She basically did the entire conversation. She did all the negotiations for the pricing, because the owners and all the real estate agents that I was dealing with, they just spoke Vietnamese. And when you're getting into the nuances of like things in terms of like when you go to the doctor, if you need to deal with a lawyer, like contract negotiations and things of that nature, it's just so much easier to have a local and or be able to speak completely fluently. I've been thinking about maybe doing Vietnamese classes just at least to learn the alphabet and the tones, because they do get tricky and I'm not the best with reading Vietnamese, so that's probably something that I could definitely improve on. Something that happens all over Asia, to be honest. Every time that I've visited a new country, pretty much is going to happen, especially Southeast Asia, where everyone's trying to earn a buck. Everyone's on the grind, a hustle. They need that money for their family, which is understandable. But that's foreign attacks. The Vietnamese people, I do think they are very welcoming. They're very warm, especially in the South. Everyone sort of tries to please you a little bit in comparison to like other cities like the north that I've been to, but you really have to keep your wits about you. And I've learned the hard way. Like with the language barrier thing, it sort of ties in, at least from here, I don't look like a local from Vietnamese, so they can spot me a mile away. They know this guy is not a local, and I'm almost a walking dollar sign. And little things like, once again, landlords or like renting apartments, if they know you're from the West, they know you got a little bit of disposable income. When I went to look for some of the apartments initially, in the first 8 I saw, for what I saw in terms of the apartment, in comparisons to the pricing, it just did not make sense. A lot of the places felt like they were 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 million more expensive than what they should have been. And I do think there was a little bit of foreign tax. Gyms are a big one out here. The first time I went to a gym, I went to Elite Fitness in Tao Ding. Very, very good gym. It was one more of the more luxury gyms. I've worked in gyms before, so I sort of understood what was going on, but I was only there for 2 months. So I was happy to sort of pay whatever. Most of these gyms, they don't have pricing up front. It's very hard to get a price. I went in and I asked for a price and they go, hey, hold on, a sales consultant will come and have a chat to you. Sales consultant comes, they do their queries, their questions, how long you're going to be here for, etc., etc. Normal sales tactics. But when it comes to negotiating the prices, I have learned you always want to see a price listing, whether it be on the website or something that is printed and they can show you. But most of these gyms, they're going to whip out a white piece of paper here and they're going to start at the price and they're going to slide, So I went to Elite Fitness, let's say this way. I was only there, I wanted to go for a 2-month membership and the initial pricing, they were like 3 million a month. 3 million a month. That is crazy. That is something that you should be paying for an entire year for a gym in Vietnam. 3 million a month is like triple the price of what I'd pay for a month at a gym in Australia, which is mental, right? So here I knew exactly what was going on and I negotiated the price down as much as possible. I ended up paying maybe 1.5 million. That is still so much more than what the price should have been. And a lot of these places, especially gyms, they work based on commission. So my assumption is they have a base rate, the lowest rate that they can obviously give to a customer, and whatever they sell more, that's probably going to be commission for them. Foreigner tax is definitely real. And even like at restaurants where they don't have pricing, they might double the price, up the price. So that's something to be wary of. And the way I mitigate that, or essentially just completely get rid of it, is doing my research online, looking at reviews, looking at the websites, and just finding alternatives that they actually have prices there already. Something I really miss about Australia is the bureaucracy side of things, like the admin side of things. I feel like in Vietnam, there's no one source of truth, which is very, very annoying. I feel like there's multiple informations online. I feel like there's no official website. I might be wrong. If there is like a source of truth for certain things, please let me know. It's like going through hoops and hurdles just to find real information, accurate information. You could genuinely ask a local that's born and raised here. You could ask 3 different locals and they can tell you 3 different things for one topic. I'll give you an example, okay? Like if you want to extend your visa, right? If you want to like open up a business, you really, really need to be like set and understand like the law of things. And it's hard, obviously, if you don't speak the language, you don't read the language as well. Whereas in Australia, 99% of the time, whatever I'm reading, whatever I've Googled, whatever I've researched, is going to be the absolute truth. Visas, SIM cards, banking, government forms, those things, you've really got to be switched on. I use ChatGPT. I feel like that's a good source of truth, but even then, that's feeding off information that's online about Vietnam. So really got to be diligent, and I try not to get into like big conversations where like big amounts of money need to be implemented and things of that nature. The very last con, and probably the biggest one, at least for me, I moved here by myself. I've got a grandma still here. I've got a bunch of uncles and aunties and cousins here as well, but I didn't grow up with them, so my relationship with them isn't as close, obviously, as my parents or my sister, and I miss them. They're only a 9-hour flight away, but being able to see them every day in Australia, being able to see my nieces and my nephews grow up, I've missed that so much. And just having a conversation with my sister, seeing my mum, seeing my dad, having dinner with them, going out, like I've been missing their birthdays, I've been missing Mother's Day, just like little events where you really cherish as you get older. My parents are like, they're in their 60s now, They're not getting any younger. Everyone's getting older. Family is like something you should definitely cherish, and I'm thankful I have a good relationship with them now. Growing up Vietnamese, it's always tough as you're a kid. As you're going through puberty, you don't understand their values, their way of life. But as I got older, I just learned to love them, and I miss them so much, man. And friends as well, you have your clique from high school, university, workmates, being able to go out with them. As I've grown up with them from a kid, so you have all these stories, you have your banter, you know their way of thinking, you know their humor. It's It's a little bit different out here, and I just miss them. I miss you guys if you're watching, yeah? So those are the cons and some things that I've struggled with, or they've been a huge learning curve. Like I mentioned, these are my experiences. Some of you guys might not have any of those cons, but those are my experiences, and I wanted to share, especially if you're thinking about moving over here. Those are some things, if you really value and prioritize a lot of those cons and you need that in your life, this might not be the place for you. I want to go on to the pros, because there are so much more positives that I've been able to take out from moving to this country. So Vietnam is one of, if not the cheapest country in the world in terms of cost of living. I won't touch on the breakdown of the cost of living. I want to make an entire dedicated video that's probably going to come out next week for you guys, so you guys can examine and see if that fits your budget. Because I've been able to save so much money, so much money. I've learned like little tips and tricks of where to shop, how to get just cost of living down low, where it's comfortable, but it's even better than when I first moved here like 3 months ago now. But I will touch on quality of life. The quality of life for me at this age of 28 and what I'm trying to achieve in my life and my focus is, the quality of life here is just perfect. And how I measure that is I have more free time here. I'm a little bit different to a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys are currently in a 9-to-5 job. I've been thankful and fortunate enough for the last 2 years to be sort of traveling. I haven't had that 9-to-5 rat race sort of lifestyle for a bit over 2 years now, but I always try and remember it whenever like things get hard and things in terms of like YouTube and social media, if the money's not as good. I try and remember what my life was like before and when I was working an office job, and I don't think I want to go back to it. I don't want to go back to that, that feeling of Monday to Friday, that hamster wheel. My entire Monday to Friday is taken up for work. I never went out. The only thing besides work, I'd go to the gym. That was like my counterbalance, my escape. And then on the weekend, just want to go out, catch up with friends, when I was younger, whether it be going clubbing, dinner, drinks. Over here right now, and the fact that I'm able to, and I'm trying to build an online platform and, earn a source of income through that. I'll tell you what, I'm earning a hell of a lot less money. When I was in my office job in Australia, I was earning over $120,000 a year. And I was able to save a lot. I was able to buy a house. I was able to just afford a great quality of life over there. But my free time was absolutely gone. Whereas here, honestly, I don't even feel like I'm working. Like right now for me, recording this video, going to edit it, that's my work. Planning videos and like just trying to think of concepts and fun ideas for you, for your entertainment and education. It doesn't feel like work, So that all encompassing the quality of life here, the fact that I have so much more free time that I can put into things that I actually want to enjoy. I mean, things like dating. I barely dated back in Australia. I feel like my time was always consumed, but now been on a bunch of dates here, that's fun, that's cool. I've been so much more social. I've been doing things like pickleball, I've been darts, pool, making new friendships, been doing like volunteer work. It's just so much more free time here essentially to do things that you actually enjoy. Because at the end of the day, we're all gonna die. I feel like when you're on your deathbed and you reflect upon your life, the things that you're gonna remember for the most of us is gonna be how you spent your life, how you spent your time and who you spent your time with and the memories that you have. It's not how much you earned. Obviously, money is super important in order to be able to live a lifestyle like this, but the money does go a long way. I can earn like half, if not a third of what I was earning in Australia over here, but have an even better quality of life and still save a little bit of money. Next is social life and community. I've touched on the fact that I've missed my family and I miss my friends back home in Australia, but honestly, I've made more friends in the last 3 months that I've been here than I think I have in the last 10 years in Australia. And that's because I feel like everyone sticks to their cliques. My core group of friends are from high school or they're workmates that I've worked in like the office jobs with. And you build really good relationships through that. But I just find it's so hard to like make friends outside of that unless you're going and like drinking at a bar and having a drink at a club or whatever. It might be a little bit easier because you've got alcohol and it's a little bit easier to break the ice and have a conversation and make new friends. But like on the streets here in Vietnam, I feel like I could walk into any cafe and I could strike up a conversation and we could somehow, become friends. Whereas I think it's a little bit weird in the West to do that, to strike up a random conversation. Maybe that's just me. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but maybe it's my introverted side, but I feel like everyone sticks to their clique and it's a lot harder to break into new friendship circles out in the West. And the social life here, I'm talking about cafes and restaurants, they're definitely built for nightlife. Things can stay open, like not as 24 hours, but I can stay up till late, to like midnight, 1 a.m. Sometimes when I go for a walk or when I go for a ride around the city, people are out and about just kicking it, till midnight. I feel like everyone in Vietnam, especially Ho Chi Minh City, it's such a work culture out here that everyone grinds in the mornings. I don't necessarily feel like it's a Monday to Friday thing, but it's a morning grind, afternoon grind, and then in the afternoon, they want to go out, they want to have a drink, they want to just chill and catch up with their friends. Like they need that counterbalance, which I think it's much healthier to be able to do that on the daily and have the opportunity with things being open to do that, rather than bottling it all up on a Monday to Friday and then sort of like exploding and splurging on a Saturday and Sunday. I feel like they're able to manage it a lot better. And it's so cool that I could literally just walk down my street and have some food at midnight or catch up with a friend at like 10 p.m. and doesn't feel weird, and it's not like we're the only ones out, which is super cool. So on the things of friendships and being able to form community, I think a really cool thing is I don't even use Facebook back in Australia anymore. I feel like it's an ancient thing in the West. Like you're probably on like TikTok or IG, but out here, Facebook is like everything. And I've been joining new Facebook groups, expats in Ho Chi Minh City, events in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, Viet Gills. There's so many people with similar stories and backgrounds like me who were born in the West, of Vietnamese descent. Now they've moved back to Vietnam for essentially the same reasons I have, for a better quality of life and just to experience the motherland. And so many people want to connect with other people in sort of similar circumstances like myself. And I've been going out to like fundraiser events, charity events, pickleball events, just events where they're just organized by this Facebook group, and there's literally something on every single week, and I've managed to make new connections, network, new friends, just through these. And I feel like I'd never ever do that out in the West. One more thing on community and sort of that social life aspect, something I had never ever done back home in Australia. Maybe once during high school, and that's like charity, that's like volunteer work. A couple months ago, I saw on like social media this thing called Vietnam Hearts, where it's a volunteer group that's recently started back in February this year. And the aim is essentially just to give back and help to underprivileged kids by teaching English. And these kids, I'm talking, they're legitimately underprivileged. They have like no parents. Some of them, the parents are incarcerated. They're living with their grandparents. Some of these kids, they're the kids that you see on the street selling gum, selling like lottery tickets. When I heard about that, the last month now I've been volunteering as a TA, so a teaching assistant. You come in and you just help the kids. There's like a volunteer teacher. Everything is completely unpaid, this organization. They're trying to give the kids a better future by helping them learn English, which I think is very cool. When you give back, it definitely warms the soul. It definitely feels right. So I'm glad I've been able to have this opportunity to actually have the free time and actually be able to volunteer. So they're called Vietnam Hearts. I can add like the social link, the Facebook link, whatever it is here for you guys. If you want to come and check it out, you can come as a teaching assistant like myself and just help the kids, make sure, because they're kids, they're a little bit chaotic, right? But you do just have to help the teacher, help them try and just improve their English, and hopefully that results in a better future. And they do a lot of like social events as well. So I'll put the link up here if you guys are in Ho Chi Minh City and want to come check it out, help give back to the kids, and also join the social festivities. Next one is cultural connection, okay? Now I've felt this every single time I've come back to visit Vietnam. More so recently, not as a kid, but the last 2 years as I've been traveling Vietnam, making content, exploring the country, I feel at home here. I feel at home obviously in Australia, that's where I grew up. That's where my family is. And I love being Australian. Every time someone asks, I go, I'm Australian first and foremost. And then, of Vietnamese roots. The motherland thing is absolutely real. Like there is a spiritual connection I feel every time I come back to the country. It feels like home, and I feel like there's definitely validity to like ancestral roots. And I feel that my parents, they were born here. Mom's family was Chinese, but she was born here. She grew up here, and my dad is full Vietnamese. So I definitely feel those ancestral roots every time I come back, even though there are cons, even though I have language barriers, even though sometimes, you can't even communicate with some people. It just feels right. It feels right being here. It feels at home being here, which is amazing to say. On cultural connection, I feel like a lot of you guys can probably relate to this. Growing up in Melbourne, from where I'm from, I feel like the US, Canada, all the Western countries, they're very similar. And in Melbourne, like you see people from all walks of life. You see people from all diverse nationalities, and it's just a complete norm. Like friendship groups could be completely from all types of different countries. And especially Melbourne, Australia, you've got so many types of Asians, South Asians, Southeast Asians, Greeks, Italians, all people from Europe. You've got people from like originally from the UK, England, Scotland. There's just a melting pot of different cultures. I think it's so cool to be able to grow up in a place like that. Just like the food diversity that comes from that that's just slaps. But something as I've got older is I struggled with identity a little bit. Growing up in a Vietnamese household, at home you're Vietnamese, you eat Vietnamese food, you celebrate like the Lunar New Year. Everything is like revolves around Vietnam. But then when I step outside of that environment, when I went to high school, like primary school, university, work, there's no other national identity. It's a bit of a free-for-all. I feel like naturally we all look for a tribe. We all look for a place where we all feel comfortable. And coming back to Vietnam, where everyone has that national identity of being Vietnamese, I feel like I just belong. It feels more inviting because everywhere you see people of the same skin tone, you see everyone's got like black hair. Everyone, like it's like the same race. As I move back to Vietnam and see what my parents lived through when they were younger and then how their mothers and how their sisters and brothers grow up here, and I understand the history a bit more from where my ancestors came from, I've built a stronger connection with my Vietnamese identity. Like I said, I'll always be Australian, but I now understand my Vietnamese roots and I don't have that identity issue anymore. And one of the biggest and toughest challenges in life is figuring out who you are. And I'm glad that moving here has helped me understand that. If that's something that you've struggled with, it might be time to like come back to Vietnam and just learn about your roots. Because I know a lot of Vietnamese parents who have left the war and they have hard memories, hardships, and like bad memories about the country, but it's changed so much in the last 50 years. When the people come back now, I read this beautiful story the other day, I'll put it up here now, but a family who hasn't visited the country in over like 20 years and they've come back now and it's completely changed their perception of what Vietnam is, and it's helped them sort of relieve that pain and quench that thirst of cultural connection that they can now have and now come back to the country. So it's definitely a real thing, that cultural connection. Next positive is the work and hustle culture. Everyone is hustling, from students to workers, street vendors, to scammers, okay? They are all hustling, they're all grinding. Obviously, with the cost of living at this place being so low, the wages in turn are gonna be low as well. I'm thankful that I've come from Australia. If you're a Viet Gil or if you're an expat coming to these countries that are Southeast Asia specifically, obviously your money goes a lot longer, especially if you've been able to save up or if you have a job, your money's able to go a lot longer. That means for the locals, everyone has to work, everyone has to hustle. Like people working at like restaurants, cafes, they're working like 5-6 days a week, 8 to 10 hours sometimes, like proper full-time, proper hustle just to pay the rent and stuff, you know. But at this point in my life where I'm trying to grind and I'm trying to really dial in and lock in on creating better YouTube videos, trying to diversify my source of income to be able to continue and maintain this lifestyle that I have currently and continue living here. Maybe in 10, 15, 20 years when I've hopefully been able to earn enough money to like take the foot off the pedal a little bit, I probably would, you know, maybe either want to live out in the countryside of things if I have a family. That would be so cool. Or maybe move to like Da Nang or like the coast of Vietnam or the coast somewhere and just have a lot more of a chill life. Right now, I need to be and I want to be in this environment that's really hustle and bustle. So if you're in a position where you want to try and build something for yourself, or you want to try and grind and just focus in on like health and work, this might be a great option for you to come and live in as well. Because for me right now, it is the perfect ideal spot. Big one is transportation and accessibility. That's been such a pro living here. So back in Melbourne, Australia, I lived in like the southeast suburbs, like Keysborough, Springvale area. And if I want to go out, I might have to go to like Glen Waverley, which is like a 20-minute drive, or the CBD, the city, that's like a 40-minute drive. Things just aren't easy to get around. And it's expensive to get around, man. I owned a car, I owned a BMW back in Australia. Registration, that's like $2,000. Petrol, that's probably like 80 a week or a fortnight, depends on how much I'm driving. Then you've got to pay for things like car insurances, car services. So I was probably spending like in a year $5,000 minimum on just the car. And obviously I'd be able to earn a lot more money. Over here, like I'm living in District 3, which is like 10 minutes away from District 1, which is like the city center. I'm not spending crazy amount of money to get around. If I want to go on a night out, I don't really drink anymore, to be honest. I'm trying to quit that stuff. But if I wanted to go out on a night and hit up, you know, District 1, have a dinner with the friends or had a drink, from here to District 1, it's like 15,000 at the cheapest level for a Grab ride, which is like $1 Australian. If I wanted to do the same thing in Australia, that's like $40, $50 for an Uber. Then I gotta come back. So I'm spending like $2 in transportation here if I wanna just go out for the night. It incentivizes you to wanna go out more. Like I've been going out like 3, 4, 5 times a week recently because it's way too hot to really do anything in the morning, and you just want to like enjoy the night that you have. It's a lot cooler, people aren't working anymore, and people are more willing to go out. I'm probably going to be spending like a little bit over $1,000 in terms of transportation here compared to like a minimum of $5,000 in Australia. And the other thing about transportation is I have my own bike, so I'm renting a bike for like a bit under 90 Australian dollars a month, and petrol is only like 60,000 for a tank, which is like 4 Australian dollars. And riding a bike is so much fun. You still get stuck in traffic, you know, here and there. The fact that you're on your bike, for me, it feels like a first-person player game, like just riding around the scooter, zooming in and out of traffic. Even if I'm stuck in traffic, it's not like I'm stuck in traffic in a car. When I'm stuck in traffic in a car, it sucks. It just feels like everything is longer, you know, whereas on a bike, you're zooming in and out. It just feels fun. It feels more freeing, and I love that free feeling right now in my life. Next is dating life, all right, guys? For my life, I grew up obviously in a Vietnamese Asian household, okay? And seeing the dynamics, more so when I was younger, seeing the dynamics of my mum and dad and their relationship and how it complemented each other. Obviously, mum being a lot more feminine, you know, she was doing more of the traditional household things, whereas my dad would work and hustle and grind a little bit more in terms of like manual labor and stuff to earn money for the family. I saw that dynamic. Not that that's perfect. As I got older, and a lot of you guys, you know, a Vietnamese or Asian household can get a little bit toxic. Things like communication can be a barrier. Yeah, I won't delve too much into like my personal life, but I'm sure you guys can sort of relate. It can get a little bit toxic in a Vietnamese Asian household. As I get older and as I want to settle down, I find myself looking for a more of a traditional, more of a feminine woman. Whereas in the West, I feel like, not that it's a bad thing and not that you can't find that, is the pool is just a little bit smaller. Whereas 99% of the girls here have that traditional mindset where I feel like it's more of a complement to a masculine and a feminine relationship, and that's just my personal preference, you know. I like that side of things. I'd love to have kids, maybe get married, and I'd want my partner to be more of that nurturing kind. Not that I wouldn't be, and not that I only want her to cook and clean. Like, I love cooking, I clean as well, but I just want that feminine relationship to complement, and the pool is just so much larger here. I've been on a bunch of dates out here now, and majority of them are like that. In Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, you still get that party girl. I tend to try and steer clear of that and not even entertain the idea of a date. It's more like the West, some of these girls, where they do want that social status. The younger ones, they do want to be going out clubbing. They do want to eat at the fancy restaurants. When I was a lot younger, like, I would mind dating someone like that, but as you want to settle down, as you want someone a little bit more family-oriented, someone who's complimentary of your life, a little bit more feminine, I do find that majority of the girls here, they are in that nature. And the biggest thing is dating here is cheap. Like, I could go on a coffee date and only spend $4. Or if I wanted to go at a higher end, fancier restaurant with a couple drinks, that might be $40 at most. And then transportation that we've touched on is cheaper to get around. I can only imagine if I'm out in the West and I'm on these dating apps and I'm going and seeing a new girl once a week or once a fortnight, or whatever it is, I'm probably going to be spending a minimum $100, $150 for transportation, drinks, food, activities. That just makes you want to date less. The fact that you might go out, see a girl, doesn't work out, but as a man, I still believe in, you know, paying for the first date. So if I'm doing that multiple times a month, that just tallies up. Whereas here, it's a numbers game. You can go through a little bit more dates because it is a little bit cheaper and you don't feel like you're wasting money in a sense. That helps a lot with my social life and with my dating life. That said, if you're thinking about coming here just to like date and be a passport bro, I don't think that's the way to go about it. You know, there are a lot of passport bros these days coming from West, finding Southeast Asian women because once again, they do like that traditional women, and it's a lot tougher to find that out in the West. But I feel like if you're coming here for that sole purpose, the relationship, I don't think is going to last long. It's not the same as it used to be where all the girls would want to marry an expat for the money, for a better life. I think the younger generation are okay and they're comfortable with dating people their age these days. Back in the day, I remember it used to be like the guy would be 30, they're a lot more experienced, they have a lot more income, and they'd marry like the younger 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Well, I've seen that like reduced by so much. People are able to earn more money here, especially the younger generation, and they're getting into relationships with people more their age. So passport bros, at least in Vietnam, it's a little bit more of a conservative country. I can't speak for like places like Thailand and Philippines. I think they're a little bit more westernized. The average girl here is a lot more conservative. So I don't know if coming here, you'd want to be able to have like a good relationship. And I wouldn't suggest marrying a girl that can't even speak English. There's no like deeper connection. Like this girl I'm seeing now, she speaks English. She lived in Australia for like 10 years, so I'm able to communicate in English. Because once again, the language barrier for my Vietnamese, I can't have those deeper, meaningful conversations. It's a lot harder. So being able to find someone fortunate enough to be able to communicate on a deeper level with them. And I think that's so important for like a long-term relationship. Next one is location and travel. So obviously I'm a travel content creator, primarily based in Vietnam now, but if I want to travel to other countries in Southeast Asia, it's so much easier, it's so much more convenient. Being in Ho Chi Minh City, I flew to Bangkok for Songkran, the Thailand New Year's. That was an incredible experience. And that was an hour flight. It cost like $80. If I wanted to do that from Australia, from Melbourne, that's like an 8-9 hour flight, minimum like $300-400. It's so much easier living here. I can travel to other countries that I probably will go to towards at the end of the year again, like Japan, Korea, Philippines. It's just so much easier to get in and out. You're not wasting a day or two worth of travel, jet lag. It's like just a good location. Obviously food variety. If you love Vietnamese food, this is like Vietnamese food heaven. Albeit I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and a lot of you guys, you might be from California or wherever city that has really good Vietnamese food. So I do feel like the Vietnamese food in Australia is better, higher quality of ingredients, but pricier. It comes with the territory, you know? But I'm thankful here I can like walk down a random street, walk down an alleyway. I have Grab, which is like Uber essentially, where you can get Grab delivery food and the quality be amazing. It's a food heaven. It's a food city, especially Ho Chi Minh City. I won't lie and say every single city in Vietnam has incredible food. That's not true. That's not true. For like Ho Chi Minh City, for my palate, growing up as a southern boy with a southern Vietnamese mum, the cooking is just like, it tastes like soul food. It tastes like home cooking every time I eat. And it's obviously so cheap. Another big thing is things like pharmacies, healthcare, the convenience of it. I'm yet to need to go to a doctor, need to go to a checkup. I should really get my teeth cleaned. Probably will be going to a dentist shortly and finding a dentist. And I've seen like dentists for like teeth cleans from 250,000 to like 450,000 in that middle range, which is a bit over 15 Australian, let's say, on the average. $15 for like a clean. Whereas in Australia, like, I'll be honest guys, like the act of going to the dentist and then spending like $100 for a teeth clean puts you off a little bit. Whereas there are dentists literally in every single corner here and the prices are great. So I definitely got to go and get my teeth clean. And the other one is, yeah, like pharmacies, they're literally on every corner and there's less of a barrier. Like you could walk into the pharmacy and describe to them your symptoms and then they prescribe you what you need or what they recommend on the spot. You don't have to go to like a GP or a doctor, get that, go get a prescription, and then go to the pharmacy. Like it's just all about convenience here in Vietnam. And the other one is like massages. I've been getting one at least once a month, maybe every 3 weeks, and it's just affordable, you know? I love getting a massage. If you're going to the gym, like you've got knots, I'm like always working, bending over. Like right now I can feel my back a little bit hunched. So just going to the massage, getting like sort of like just realigned a little bit. On average, I'm spending like 450,000, which is between 20 to 30 Australian dollars. I would be less inclined to go and get a massage. I might get one like every 2 months, 3 months, because it's like minimum for an hour, $100. Next one is visas and banking. So I'll touch on exactly how I open up a bank account and how I got my visa in an upcoming video about the structure and how to move to Vietnam. But right now, I've been able to attain a 5-year Vietnam visa. So that means because I have family that is Vietnamese, they were born here, and my parents are Vietnamese as well, I was able to get a 5-year visa. Every 6 months, I have to do a little visa run. I just have to fly out of the country, which is cool because I can shoot videos in another country and then just come back and I don't have to reapply for a new visa. And with that visa, I'm able to open up a bank account. So I've opened up a bank account. The thing with Vietnam is before I had it, it's essentially a cash society. Like you can use Apple Pay at convenience stores, some restaurants, they'll take credit cards. But if you want like street food and stuff, they're not going to swipe your credit card. They're not going to swipe your card. And with being able to get a Vietnamese bank account, everyone uses like a little QR code. They'll either scan your QR code or you scan their QR codes and then you're able to pay like that. You don't even need cash anymore. You can just Jing Ding, which is like send money, scan the QR code, and having a bank account makes life so much easier. Something else I love about Vietnam is the different cities and the different vibes of cities, okay? I've been traveling. Last year I went from Saigon to Hanoi motorbike tour, which is incredible experience. And I ventured into cities that I'd like never been before, like Dalat, which is like sort of north of here. It's totally different to Vietnam. It's like more mountainous, cooler weather. Reminds me of like Melbourne a little bit. Food there is incredible. Then you've got like the city life like Da Nang, Nha Trang. Then you've got up north, Ninh Bình, Sapa, Hanoi. I feel like in Melbourne, I wouldn't want to travel to another state. What's the point of me traveling to Sydney? What's the main point of traveling to like Perth? Like Melbourne has sort of everything, and it's just so expensive to fly to another state, pay for accommodation, pay for tickets. Everything could literally total up to like $1,000 for like a week trip. And that $1,000 goes a hell of a lot longer in a place like Vietnam. Observing people in the city, in the country in general, it's definitely less materialistic. I can feel that. Like back home, I'd be more worried about my fashion. I'd be more worried about the car that I'd be driving. I'd be more worried about just like my appearance and my perception to others. Whereas here, everyone sort of keeps to themselves and sort of worries about themselves and their immediate surroundings. But once again, it's also easier to break through and have those relationships. But people are just less materialistic, man. People don't really care what they wear. The younger generation do. The younger generation have a unique fashion sense. It's very like indie. It's very like their own. They're building their own fashion sense, which is very cool to see. For the majority of people, they don't really care what they wear. They don't really care what they drive. But everyone just drives motorbikes here, scooters here. It doesn't matter what kind of car you have, what kind of bike you have. No one cares about that. People care less materialistic. They care about more of the person you are. What kind of vibe do you have? It's more fun, I feel, out here. Overall, I feel so much more happier here. I feel much more free here. Honestly, I know I went through a bunch of cons, but the only real big con is missing family and friends. And as time passes and as they get older, I obviously lose time with them. But I'm building new relationships, potential new family and stuff here. So it's cool. Like I'm able to mitigate and not miss that as much. I feel like if I wasn't actively social, that would completely do my head in and I'd miss that in Australia and I'd want to go back quicker. But the fact that I've been able to easily build new friendship groups, easily be dating, I don't have that focus on the cons. But if you're thinking about doing the same thing, like I said, I'll create a video coming up on how to do it. But if you're thinking about doing the same thing, I will say this, it's not a fix on your life. If you have issues and they're mainly self issues, if you can't face who you are at the end of the day, a new environment like moving to Vietnam or moving to any country, eventually that novelty is going to fade. Eventually you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror and deal with who you are. And if you're not happy with who you are and you're not at peace with who you are, your downfalls, your shortfalls, whatever it might be, the move is not going to last. People have come to Vietnam, lived here for a month, 2 months. Once that novelty dies down, man, you're probably going to want to move back to the States, whatever country you're from. You haven't been able to fix internally. For me, right now, this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly where I want to be. I see myself living here for at least the next year. I have a strong feeling that I'll probably end up staying longer than a year, depending on how these relationships that I have, these friendships and my business side of things that are going. I really appreciate you guys who have DM'd me talking about these things or have left comments, and apologies if I'm not able to get back to all of them. I try my best, but a lot of you guys have reached out towards DMs, and a big one I got from this guy called Noah. Hey, yo, shout out to you, Noah. This little message here, I'm gonna read it out. Hey, David, you're one of the most inspiring people I've come across. The way you left everything behind to chase something real, that takes serious courage. Your videos don't just show places, they show people, culture, connection. Watching them feels like being a part of the moment. And the fact that you're so genuine, no ego, no filter, that's what makes it powerful. You're not just creating content, you're creating something meaningful. A reminder that life's about more than playing it safe. Keep going, you're making a real impact. Those messages like that, not that it boosts my ego or anything, it sort of reaffirms the fact that I make YouTube videos. Of course, it's obviously to fund my lifestyle and fund my living, but I also wanna, one, entertain you guys, two, educate you guys these days more about Vietnam culture and try and help the country grow in terms of tourism. And the third one is if I'm able to successfully build and sustain this social media lifestyle, a lot of you guys have interest in that as well. And I feel like, especially for like the Asian demographic, the Vietnamese demographic, it's not a common thing. The traditional mindset is like get a job 9 to 5, but I've got friends who have been inspired by me and they want to do the same thing and they're planning to do the same thing. Some of you guys want to do the same thing, planning to do the same thing. So the inspirational messages that I get like that just helps reaffirm me and helps boost me into continuing to become better. These were the pros and cons from my experience in Vietnam. There's a couple more videos on cost of living and how to exactly move to Vietnam coming soon. So subscribe and stay tuned for that.